Okay, I think was a good start, right? The laugh was good, so meaning that the sarcasm has been perceived, meaning that, I read somewhere that, the first politician presenting is the one that doesn't win the election, so I wanted something to, to be remembered, right? So I put something provocative. But actually, no, I'm very, very bullish. If you guys don't know me, my company. So yeah, I do a couple of stuff, Marina, browser extension, or contributor with TDEX, and other couple of stuff. So definitely I'm bullish with Liquid. I don't think it sucks. It was just, So my presentation is about narratives, I guess. In general, narratives is a way to shape what people, think, and collective mind, and also brings, this type of application or this type of developments in general, in whatever, doesn't matter. So let's see what was the first narrative of Liquid, which I totally agree, but the beginning was the inter-exchange narrative, right? So basically you can move fast between exchange, and trader can benefit from confidential transaction, and so on. The exchange in the top 20, let's be a disclaimer, there are other exchange, of course, that are Liquid Federation member, BTC Turk, or the Rock Trading, or other small trading venues. But, if you take the first top 20, we only have Bitfinex. After 4 years, we launched. So let's say that the inter-exchange didn't work. I'm not, saying why it didn't work, right? So I don't... I'm not questioning this. Maybe they are busy with Shiba Inu or other, pet token. I don't know. But definitely, still, the purpose of moving Bitcoin or assets between exchange, that's not super easy, right? Especially for normal traders, mostly because there is just very few mainstream exchange out there. How traders now are solving this? Mempool, is very empty nowadays. I'm using daily the Bitcoin network to move between custodial exchange, and works pretty good. Of course, Liquid is still great for 1 minute block time, but maybe traders already count this in, so it's not a problem. Of course, this is something that will change, so we need to find scaling solution for this. But I'm just saying, last year, traders didn't notice, right? So the mempool was pretty empty. People are speculating that blockchain.com, modernizing their own infrastructure, they finally, take benefit from SegWit. That's great. That's actually great. Let's see Tether. Tether at the moment, we can see, that there are Liquid is 14 million, right, of Tether issued. I think that I never heard about that Bitcoin Cash had some Tether, or Avalanche. I never heard about Avalanche before today. So I think that, yeah, Tron kind of won the, I would say, the inter-exchange, because it's listed everywhere. I'm not saying we should do some Tron. I'm just saying at the moment the market is, using that. So this was my original title, actually. So I just, swapped. It was very long, boring, and hard to remember. So that was my case. I'm actually very, very bullish. I think that, again, narratives matters. And I think yesterday, for example, I was in PlebFi, right? The Jeremy Rubin conference that is vouching for CTV and covenants on Bitcoin. And speaking with our people, right? So most of them, they didn't know that Liquid has covenants already since the beginning. So that's, was very incredible to me, right? So definitely Bitcoin people can experiment and use Liquid as a testbed. And most of them, they understood, oh, now I understand why, I can use Liquid for, innovate or try to do some use cases without pushing, right, on the Bitcoin main chain. And then we have another things. There is miner extracted value in other blockchain. And I think that for the trade use case, for application, that's incredible. The fact that other blockchain, they don't think about confidential transaction is I think the most important primitive for a trader, because if I am a trader with a normal broker, only the broker, the bank, and maybe the state knows about my trade. But in a public blockchain, like in other ecosystem, everybody knows about it. And also, miners can extract value from my trade. They can front run me. So I think confidential transaction is one of the most important, I think, primitive for trading for a trading application. And then yes, you have atomic swaps, you have 1 minute block time, that's all we know. So I really think that there is a lot of space where we can really push the application narrative as well. And I think that will definitely benefit for increasing the number of people experimenting with incredible core infrastructure, right? And also will increase also the benefit for all participants. I think that there are two types of application. One, of course, there are many types. You can digress on this, but I guess I try to have this mental framework myself. One is a non-native application, which can be like, an STO or a bond, a government bond, or it can be like just an exchange integrating Liquid. This is great, actually great. I think we should really push more, right, this type of application because it's easy, right? It's a business development effort, right? And we definitely need to improve on that. But my point is that easy to integrate, but it doesn't make a defensible use case. What defensible mean is like everybody now can spin up Amazon.com, it's just an e-commerce, but the logistic of Amazon cannot be replicated in one day, right? So I think that these type of applications are definitely something interesting, right? But they're very hard to defend, right? So you don't create kind of lock-in for user developer on your, I would say, ecosystem. And then there are other type of application, right? Which I think they are like native or like they literally use Liquid as a core tenant to offer the service to your customer, user, whatever. They are maybe DEX or order book without non-custodial order book, or like NFT marketplace that use Liquid as a core tenant for their NFTs. So yeah, we have a couple of examples of that. My point, and that can be like provocative or can be not agreed on, but definitely this is the low-hanging fruit we can definitely push on, because in the end it's just developer adoption. We don't need to to convince exchange that are busy with dog tokens and other things to increase our adoption. We just need to have more developer using the core infrastructure which is very solid, as I said before, and I think it's more easy to go this. What you need for that? You need developers, right? So, and if you think about a developer, usually do things that doesn't make sense for a business standpoint. They just play with it. They do things, but they create entropy. This kind of entropy, right? It creates, movement, so to speak, right? So I think that that's something where I think would be great to improve. As I said yesterday, most of the people didn't know even that you can do asset issuance, right, on Liquid. They still think that only Bitcoin and that's it, and that's why people focus too much on what they maybe don't like of Liquid, but there are a lot of other incredible use cases that definitely we can push Bitcoin people to come and experiment here. Okay, now I'm here with request. So I think that the mental framework for my request is like, let's try to think about how we can work in backwards. This is one of AWS leadership principle that basically states, yes, we need to do very complex things, right? Distributed system and so on. But at the same time, we need to think about what our user, customer, mostly developer, in their case is. So we need to also think and put our, put in their shoes, right? So I think my wish list now is starting, and you will see this approach, I guess. The first is developer portal. I think this is the very lowest hanging fruit. We have either a Blockstream help documentation, which is mostly for Blockstream products like how to use Green and so on, or you have like Elements project website where it's mostly how to use the Elements core command line. But we don't have something in the middle, like how the Elements data structure are built, or like how the Elements protocol works, how the blinding works. Most of the time, in our experience, the only source of truth is, reverse engineer the code, which is fine. But at the same time, with the working backwards framework, I think we should not expect people to come to us, but we should, try to make it easy for them to come. And I think, yeah, developer portal is one that I think would be very, very useful, right? There is a lot of material, like in Bitcoin. Our engineer, we give mastering Bitcoin, which covers everything in the Bitcoin, protocol, data structure, and scripting. We don't have something something similar for Liquid, so to speak. So I think developer portal is one of the main first wish. Then there are a lot of times where we want to do some application kind of formal standard between wallets, between application. Most of the time you just do, right? You just do the things and then you hope that someone is copying. Like for example, it's technical, but in a multi-sig you want to, to share the blinding key between your co-signer. And I think we are copying Spectre here and they are doing a XOR trick. But I'm just saying it would be nice to have a formal way where we can discuss and put there, how applications should implement all these kind of things between developers and so on. So I think some very similar to BAP in Bitcoin. We don't need to be very, very formal or very, very angry. There are very few of us still working, but I think that some formal process will definitely help developer to standardize a bit. Another thing is like SDK and libraries. Blockstream has a very great SDK, it's called GDK, and then a low-level library like libwally. But at the same time, the point of GDK is very easy for maintainer because they can automatically generate the code for multiple language, like so just keeping either Rust or C++, or C, as a core, and then they compile to a language. That's true. That's great for maintainers, not great for user. And usually, user wants, for their own language, they want to come in, use their own language. They want an idiomatic, library to use. And just as a proof, so to speak, there is PeerSwap, which is a Blockstream product. Is using Go Elements, which is not a Blockstream library, or RareToshi is using Liquid.js. I'm not just bragging. I'm just saying, that definitely having libraries that are idiomatic to the developer, that definitely is something that we are missing. There was a great update last January with Taproot. We had more opcodes to do introspection. Actually, introspection was already possible, so to speak, since day one, but made much easier to do, and everyone can now experiment better. I think that we can maybe push more. Maybe this is controversial. I know maybe Andrew is not here, but it would be fun to have a follow-up discussion on this. But I guess more 128-bit arithmetics. I think I can skip that because I think Burak later will explain better, so I don't want to be redundant, because also he has it in his own wishlist. I think another thing very interesting is that in the original white paper, of Elements, there was the concept of SPV, validating, doing a two-way peg with SPV proof. I think that, on Liquid, we can maybe try to experiment with this new code just to show to the world how two-way peg with SPV proof could work. Maybe this is not great for security or other point, but would be nice, again, for the point of experimenting, having a testbed. Someone told me that maybe with current code we can emulate this, but I'm not that smart, so maybe okay. But the presentation was very old. We'll revise that. Other two opcodes, the last opcode is CTV, which is, there is a lot of discussion on Bitcoin. My point, I know that Andrew, for example, doesn't want to do things that are not like sure to be on Bitcoin, but at the same time we have chassis from stack. So either we remove things that Bitcoin doesn't have, or we don't put new things just to improve. My point is that we can try experiment. Of course, we can already do much better covenants without CTV, but would be nice for maybe to bring Bitcoin developer and experiment here, and maybe even Sigash and improve out, so we can also try to experiment on that side. Again, it's a wish list. I am not attached to this. I'm just saying it would be nice to have more experimentation. Yeah, a bonus point would be nice if Miniscript, which is now being merged in Bitcoin Core, also the Elements version. Okay, the Elements version should have, support for all the opcodes we already have, so we can have Miniscript, which is a nice way to do our contracts, and it at the moment is missing. It's very similar to Bitcoin, so we are missing the interesting things, the interesting part, introspection, covenants, and so on. Another things, I think will be very interesting is to have high-level smart contract language that allow developer to experiment. I'm not saying that definitely you need this to do production things. In the last 2 months, we did a research. There is also Andrew here, which I'll maybe be on this, and we took like 3 months, right? The covenants very easy. Bitcoin script is very easy, so it took maybe 1 week to write. But how to reason about it, how to research, it took months, several months. I think that definitely having some tool, that allow you to sketch out your idea in an imperative model, that will be definitely make people that are not very, very core, so to speak, also to experiment and have new ideas, maybe stupid, but again, as I said before, developer creates entropy and eventually something good remains. Actually, there is something already we working on, will be a fork of Ivy. Ivy is a Bitcoin smart contract language. We are like extending it to add all the introspection of codes and to improve this. The purpose is to compile to Miniscript. So the idea is that we build on the foundation of Miniscript, and eventually, if we will have simplicity, would be nice. If this high-level smart contract language will also compile to simplicity there. So it's definitely not something competition with what already we want to do as a network. Yeah, I mean, this is technical. Again, it's just something to show. This usually is like, I don't know, 200 lines if you just write opcodes one after the other. But this is very understandable for who maybe knows Ivy or in general knows a very Python, JavaScript or language. And this allow you to having a way to research, experimenting. Oh, I can do this, I can do that. Oh yeah, this is doable, and so on. That's another very niche technical thing, but I think is important. If we move on the contract, or say to increase the number of covenants or contract use cases, a lot of the times, and this is actually a Taproot problem. Taproot fixes a lot of things, but in other sense, it hides the opcodes in the blockchain, so you cannot see it, right, until you spend that script. But maybe if you're making an application that the trust is important, that people can verify, the original contract parameters or the original detail that you put between you and the other party in the contract, there is no real way to coordinate this. Would be nice if explorers would be nice if Explorer can, allow developer to say, hey, this is my contract parameter, I upload there, and then they just try to compile the script, and if it matches, you have a badge like verified. The contract does what you states. And event labeling, maybe, if we go back, this clause of spending is like spend to Bob, right? You can spend to Bob only if there is the Bob address in the transaction. This spend to Bob can be a label, and it would be nice if I can upload to the Explorer and say, hey, when there is this script plus spend used, please label it as a spend to Bob. If you want it, of course, people don't want to verify their contract, but there are some use cases where it's important, the trust is important between you and the other party, so you want to be very easy to see in the Explorer your original contract parameter, your original code, and also what happened, right? So that transaction, what happened. Last thing is a wallet connect kind of protocol, where at the moment we have a couple of wallets, right? But most of the time they are segregated, so wallets are like vertical to each other, meaning that every time you want to try a new liquid application, you need to switch, create a new mnemonic or import a mnemonic between wallets, which is not that handy. Would be nice if most of the time you just keep using your original wallet. I don't know, I have Green, I don't want to install, another wallet, I want to keep using Green or Aqua or whatever, and then when there is a transaction, I just want to import a PSET, right, partial sign element transaction, and then just sign, or blind, right, so I don't want to expose my keys in other wallets, I want to keep using my wallets. So I think that will be very interesting application. Last things, hackathons. The last 2 years, pandemic allow us, force us to say everyone in, not travel that much, but I think that when you come in a room with other people, it's different than making a video call or making, chat. There is something else, right? So I think that pushing people, very simple hackathons or developer conference where we can push these use cases and say, hey guys, there is covenants on Liquid, right? So like yesterday, nobody knew that was incredible. I think that will be another things on my wish list. I'm done. So.